So now we will see some examples, coins, dice, cards, etc. And see how we can derive, write the sample space outcomes and how to derive the probability for those. So suppose tossing a coin, I will not delve into much details here because it is straightforward. I will just go through the slides contents. And if you have some doubts, you can always prompt. I will go into more details. So sample space will consist of whether a head has come or a tail has come. And the subsets, as we told earlier, a null set can come. A set is a subset of itself and each of the elements. So, and I told like 2 raised to n is my number of subsets. So here n is 2. 2, so 2 raised to n, I will have 4 subsets. And we are able to enumerate all the 4 subsets. And here the probability of getting a head or a tail are equally likely, right? So then in that case, I have 2 events, out of which only one is possible at a time. So the probability of getting either a head or a tail is probability of getting a head is 1 by 2. This is my total number of events. So this is my probability that the thing was that I will get a head. Now what's the probability that this is what I have considered here. Even will contain 1 out of the 2 things that I have here. So hence the probability is 1 by 2. Then again getting a tail is again same 1 by 2. Then what is the probability of getting a head or a tail? This, as we told earlier, this is a sure event, right? That when I toss a coin, if it is an unbiased coin, I will get either a head or a tail. So the probability of this will be like 2 by 2, right? 2 events are favorable. I have total 2 events, so this will be 1. So that way it will be like the E3 will be like the set omega itself. And not getting a head or tail. This is like an impossible event, right? So that is like probability is equal to I don't have it. I will not get either head or tail, and I have total 2 outcomes. So my probability will be 0 in this case. All clear? Then we'll go to next our similar to our heart spade club diamond example that we saw. My random experiment is picking a card of a particular suit from a deck of cards. So for somebody out of this who are not familiar with a deck of cards, we are having 52 cards in a deck plus some 2 or something additional jokers. So jokers we will not consider for the time being. 52 cards will be belonging to 4 suits, which is called shapes. Something like this. My spade is like not looking like a spade. Okay, something that looks like a club, and something that looks, I will assume for the go with this. So this is not how it actually looks. We can assume that there are 4 different symbols. So heart, spade, club, diamond symbol will come, and in each of these we will have like 13 cards. Out of that, king, queen, and jack are called face cards. So that will have like a diagram on that. Okay, I'm very bad at drawing diagrams, so I will not draw. The king card will have the diagram of a king, queen card will have a diagram of a queen, jack. Then the next things are numbered cards. So numbered cards we have like 10, 9, 8, -1 till 2, followed by ace. So ace I can see one letter is there used, but it is actually a if you consider only numbered cards alone, then you can see like 2 to 10 only you need to consider. If you are considering face cards, king, queen, jack only you need to consider. If you are considering non-numbered cards, then you need to consider king, queen, jack, and ace, and things like that. If you are asked to consider non-face cards, then you have to consider 2 to 10 as well as face. That kind of. So ace is actually not a face card, not a numeric card. So and when you play different types of cards, these rules, points you are allowed to each, and all those differ. I am not an expert in those, and that is not our concern. Different types of card games, so we will not delve much into that. Okay, so here we have like 4. N is 4 here, so 2 raised to 4 subsets, 16 subsets I will be having. And the picking any suit out of this is equally likely. So the probability of picking a heart is 1 by 4, spade is 1 by 4, club is 1 by 4, diamond is 1 by 4, right? So that will be a subset and it will be 1 by 4. Then getting a red or a black card, or like getting a red card we saw. If it is a heart card or a diamond card, it will be red. So my outcomes will be 1 plus 1 by 4, that is equal to 2. And similarly, getting a red or black card, heart and diamond are red, spade and club are black. So if my experiment is to find the red or black card, then it is sure event. So the probability of that is 1. Then getting a card with a symbol circle from a deck of cards. So as we saw here, the symbols are heart, spade, club, and diamond. Though they do not look like those. Those are the 4 symbols in cards. So if I am telling probability for a symbol, okay, even circle I am not able to draw properly. Sorry for that. From a even, hence the probability of that will be so. Circle looks similar by chance. Okay. The next experiment, I assume rolling a die. So here we have 6 outcomes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the 2 raised to 6 out subsets, 64 subsets, and getting any number from 1 to 6 is likely. So probability of getting 1 is 1 by 6, getting 2 is 1 by 6, getting 6 is 1 by 6. Then the probability of getting an odd number. If it is 1, 3, or 5, I will get an odd number. So that will be 3 out of 6. So that will be 1 by 2 with my probability. Similarly, getting a prime number. Out of this 1 to 6, 2, 3, 5 are prime numbers. So again, I have 3 out of 6 options in my favorable outcomes. So my probability will be 1 by 2. Getting a number less than 7 in a single throw of die. So as you can see, all the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are less than 7. Hence, that is my full sample space. All outcomes are favorable. So my probability will be 6 by 6 equal to 1. And similarly, ulta cases of this, getting a number greater than or equal to 7. So that I don't have any number left in my set which is greater than or equal to 7. Hence, I will my outcome will be a null set. So my probability will be 0 to 6, that is equal to 0. Okay. So we will see one more example and then we will move to the next topic. So next is, earlier we saw picking a card belonging to a particular suit. Now we will see picking a card from a deck of cards. Any card out of the 52 that we saw. Then the probability of picking each card, since they are equally likely, it will be 1 by 52. And here we will have 2 raised to 52 subsets. Okay, now in this condition, we cannot like write it out at all. Till 2 raised to 6 or 2 raised to 4, we can like write it out and see what are the combinations that can come. Once it comes to 2 raised to 52 combinations and all, I cannot write it out. So I will just write like this here. The probability of getting a king of spades. So that is 1 out of the 52 cards. So my probability there will be 1 out of 52. What's the probability of getting a diamond card? So this with suits example, we saw that this is 1 by 4. So with this also we will see how it will be 1 by 4. As you can see here, the favorable elements are king, queen, jack, ace, and 10 to 2. So if you count total, there are 13 elements. So 13 by 52 will give me again 1 by 4. Same as the result that we saw with our suit case. And again, same examples. If you see getting a red or black card is again 1, and getting a card with number 1 is 0 because there is no card with a number 1 in the deck of cards. Okay, all clear till now. Shall we move to the next thing, which is the most important thing, and which we will be using throughout in our course. Shall we move to the next slide? Okay. So I hope we have somebody who is not familiar with the cards. So I don't have a pack of cards here, but I think I saw in some textbook some diagram of spades. Okay. Okay. After the class, okay. Or even internet, you can see it. Spade actually means that something that we used to like dig soil and all. No, that is what is called a spade. So that thing, it actually, so my drawing skills are very limited. So it basically looks no, like this, something like this. Or somebody better can draw something and put in the group. Okay, so okay, we will have that later. Some mathematical this thing where this thing is discussed, I will mail to you. You can go there. So we'll proceed to next thing, what is called conditional probability. So this is like from this point onwards, I want you to be like more focused on the presentation, because these are like things I have like slightly mathematical way I have considered compared to whatever is given in the plus 2 material. So what is a conditional probability? I will explain first. So we will tell that event B has occurred. So that is like in our example that I have the time I wake up. So the probability that I wake up at 6, 6:30, 7, 7:30. So this is my event B. So this is given. Now my task is to find out the probability that I will go by either bus or public conveyance or auto, car, or I don't go to office. So my problem statement A, event A, which is what mode of transport I used to go to office. Yeah, I think in the chat you got a answer, right? What, how the space. Thank you, Rajesh. So basically, the event A of which mode of conveyance I used to go to office actually depends on my event B, which is at what time I actually wake up. So things like this. So I will tell that the probability that of which mode I will use to go to office will have a dependence on the event B. So for things like this, I need to find out what is the probability that I will go by bus if I wake up at 6. Or the probability of I am going by auto if I wake up at 7. So things like that are called what is called the conditional probability. It is denoted by P of A given B. And if even because if considering set theory, this is the set corresponding to A, and this is the set corresponding to B. And we are telling that even B has not occurred. B has already occurred. Then my point of interest is now actually this much only, this part only. Because I am sure that since B has already occurred, I need not consider this part. So my point of interest is this particular portion. So that is what I mean by P of A given B. Now the outcomes favorable to occurrence of A given that B has occurred are those that are common to both B and B. So as you can see, if you see with respect to set theory, this is A intersection B. Now I am trying to find out how much this area, what is the probability of A given B. I will write it as probability of A intersection B by probability of B. So as you can see, B has already occurred, and I am supposed to find the probability of A occurrence of A given that B has occurred. Then this is the formula that I will use for this. And similarly, if I want probability of B given A, then it will be like ulta. Probability of B given A will be probability of again A underscore B. My denominator will be probability of A. One thing you can know here is whatever comes as the second term here will come as denominator here, and the numerator will be always A under intersection B. So that is some hack that you can use to solve problems like this. Now, if A and B are independent events like we saw earlier, then A intersection B is what? 0. Like A and B cannot be, but the probability that I will go by a bus and I will go by public conveyance both is 0. So for events like that, if you see this equation, we saw that the probability of B given A is B and probability of A given B is A, because the value which is coming in the denominator A or B does not have a intersection point with my actual output. So things like this are what we do for when the events are independent. Now we will see a few theorems on probability. So this we saw earlier itself, like suppose A union B. We will see with the set theory examples this. Okay. A union B. I have a set A. I have a set B. Then A union B will be like I will add the probability corresponding to A. I will have the probability corresponding to B. Now the problem is I have added this part 2 times. So I need to subtract that out. Right. So that will be my probability of A union B. Now if A and B are mutually exclusive, then A will be like this, B will be like this. So A intersection B is 0. So this term will be 0. Then probability of A union B will be probability of A plus B. Then multiplication rule of probability. So this is same as what we saw here. The same thing. Same thing. But as you can see here, we have moved it to this like there we saw like probability of A given B equal to probability of A intersection B by probability of B. So we have just rearranged this equation. So by moving this to this side. So probability of B given A into probability of A and probability of A given B into probability B will give me probability of A intersection B. This is called the multiplication rule of probability. And now this addition rule and multiplication rule are something very important. So because we will be needing to use this for solving all kinds of problems. And probability of complement of an event 1 minus P of A. So if you see our again bus example, my bus, public transport, auto, car, and not going to office. So this set I can divide it into two things. These are actually complement of each other. If something comes out of the set one, that means that I went to office. And if I don't go to office, then neither of these can occur. So these two are like the complement events. So if I know the probability of all of these, the probability of this will be 1 minus probability of all these. Similarly, if I know the probability of this one, then the probability of sum of all this will be 1 minus probability of not going to office. Then similarly, you can expand this thing to for multiple events. So with this set theory, these things are like very easily you can explain. So suppose I have 3 events A, B, C. So A, B, C I have. So there again, similar to that, I add A, B, C. So I add this much, I add B, I add C. Then here I have like intersection portions. Here 1, 2, 3 intersection portions. So those 3 I have subtracted. So then you can see I have actually an intersection of all these 3 sets. So that I have like removed it. I added it first 3 times. Then I subtracted it 3 times. So now currently this particular portion alone, which is the intersection of all 3, are not currently included. So because of that, I have to add again the intersection of these 3 sets to my actual result. Similarly, multiplication rule, if you extend for multiple events, then that will be like probability of E, F, G. If you consider, it will be probability of E first event into probability of F given E second events into probability of G given this thing E intersection F. So that way you can like extend it to any number of events. So next thing will be like one of the main thing, like I told earlier, like Bayesian statistics and all. So Bayes theorem is something that is like based on this conditional probability that we just saw. So what it is, you don't bother about this equations and all. Those when you refer later, you just see, you just listen to whatever I am writing, that alone. Huh? So suppose I am having events E1, E2, etc. up to E1. And I want to find the probability that of A1 E1, A given E1, A given E2 up to A given En. Right. So then I find the probability of all this using our previous conditional probability that thing. Then the theorem of total probability tells that the probability of, we saw that probability of A intersection E1 equal to probability of A given E1 into probability of E1, right? Now total theorem of probability asks us to find what is the probability of A. So what is the probability of A? Probability of A, we have considered here that E1 to E1 En events can happen. So probability of A is A intersection E1 plus probability of, since all these are independent events, right? Any one of these only we are assuming that will occur. So up to probability of A intersection E1, probability of A intersection E2 up to probability of A intersection En, right? So this thing I can simplify it as, again I can write this equation here. Probability of A given E1 is A intersection E1 is this thing. Probability of A given E1 into probability of E1. So as you can see, that is what is happening here. Probability of A, this thing only you need to consider, I think. Probability of A is the sum. Sigma stands for sum from I to N of the probability of A given event I into probability of event I. So this is basically I have expanded this. So this thing only you need to consider. The sum probability of A is equal to probability of conditional probabilities of A given event I into probability of event I. So based on this, this theorem of total probability we will get A. So this will actually form the denominator for our Bayes theorem that we'll see just now. So Bayes theorem tells that the conditions are same. So it tells me like what is the probability of an event EI given A. So first thing what I considered probability of A given EA. Now I am considering there are n events E1 to En, and I want to consider the probability of E1 given A. So then the Bayes theorem tells me that this is equal to probability of E into probability of A given A. So this is what we know. This is like probability of A intersection EA only, right? Okay, you can refer to this. My writing is getting more because I am not able to adjust in this space. Divided by probability of A. But you need not go into derivation details of these and all. You can keep this. You can by heart this actually. But you can try to go through some online things and see how where this actually matters. And I will stop my session with the next slide. I will tell you an application of this thing, which we will be encountering very frequently in our course. So we will have a single outcome A. I'll tell with an example. Suppose A stands for our COVID case. So probability of A is true means that I am having COVID or somebody is having COVID. Probability of A is not true is that probability that he does not have COVID. Then I am defining one more metric here, test. So test will like you can assume like it is a COVID test. So this is like if I do a COVID test, what will be my outcome? So here the COVID test will tell me that the COVID test will tell me that TA bar I have put. That COVID test will tell me that I am COVID negative. Here the COVID test will tell me that I am COVID negative. Then I have made a table like this. So this will be used to calculate what is called joint probability, then marginal probability. And even when we go for hypothesis testing and all, this kind of tables will be very widely used. So you got my problem, right? So I'm telling like COVID test, we will have figures like COVID test is 90% accurate, right? So then that will come here, like the COVID test, we will tell like COVID test, there is a 0.1 chance that it will give a 0.9 chance that it will give a correct result and 0.1 chance that it will give a wrong result. So things like that. When you want to club with out of the total population, maybe 60% of people have already got COVID or have taken vaccine if I tell, and that will be my A. And then this thing will be there. Then I will consider the intersection cases. So this probability of A is true and the TA bar is false. That intersection will be this point. Probability of A is false A bar and test tells that you are COVID negative. That will be this intersection. Probability of I am having COVID and I am tested positive for COVID will be right this. And probability that I am not having COVID but I tested positive for COVID will be this. Now what out of these four, only two are like reflecting the actual condition. That one is this, which tells me that I don't have COVID and the test told me that I don't have COVID. The second one is this, which tells me that I am having COVID and the test tells me that I am not having COVID. So these two are actually, other two are actually error cases. So in this case, I had COVID, but the test told me that I am not having COVID. And in this case, the test case, I don't have COVID, but the test told me that I have COVID. So this kind of thing is called a type 1 error. When our actually we are having COVID, but the test told me that I am COVID negative. And this thing is like type 2 error, called type 2 error, where I actually don't have COVID, but which it told me that test told. So which one of these is serious? Chats, I need answers. Type 1 error or type 2 error? Which one is more serious? You can reply 1 or 2. Which is more serious, or which one I should try to avoid most? Okay, this thing actually there are terms. Type 1 error is actually called alpha and type 2 error is actually called beta. So which one should I consider most? Okay, so I have told like out of these four outcomes, two are acceptable. That I am not having COVID and the test told me that I am not having COVID. And this outcome is that I am not having COVID and the test told me that I am not having COVID. Other two cases, either I am not having COVID and the test told me I am COVID positive, or I am COVID positive and the test told me that I am not having COVID. So which one of these is a more serious type of error? Whether I am having COVID and the test told us negative, or I am not having COVID and the test told that I am positive. Okay, the actually it depends on the, if you consider generally, the choice depends on the situation of the problem. So depending on the problem, sometimes we may need to minimize type 1 error, sometimes we may need to type 2 error. In this particular problem that we consider, if I am tested COVID positive, even when I am negative, what is the effect? I may have to go on quarantine. I may lose some leave. But compared to the other case, when I am actually COVID positive, but the test told me that I am negative, so I will actually go out, right? I will actually go out, I will mingle with everyone. So I am having COVID, I will pass it to everyone. So that is like a more serious case in this condition. So I should like the probability that I am having COVID and I am tested negative in COVID. So that alpha only I should try to minimize in this particular situation. Because I am having not having COVID, the test told me I am having COVID, I will go to quarantine. And I will have to take some 2 weeks leave. But that is acceptable compared to the effect due to the other error, which is like I may infect some 100 people in that 2 days or 1 days. Again, I may test, right? If I am having symptoms again. So that is like, so now, okay, that is thing we will encounter everywhere. Now, what if you go, we saw about conditional probability, law of total probability and all, right? So there, if you see, some of this row will give me probability of A. That is probability that I am COVID positive. And the sum over this column will give me probability of A bar, where the probability that I am COVID negative. And the sum over this column, this row will give me like I am tested negative for COVID. And the probability over this thing. By here, I probability means I mean plus sign, plus of this and this. Since these events are independent, both these cannot occur together, right? So plus in this direction, plus in this direction, plus in this direction. So this is the probability that I am actually tested positive for COVID. Now, as you can see, either I will be having COVID or I will not be having COVID. So the probability of these two will add up to 1. And either I will test negative for COVID or I will test positive for COVID. So then my sum of that two will be 1. So this is some additional check that you can do to ensure that you are actually doing it in the correct way. Once you get in our examples and all, some examples like this are there. Once you populate the entries at these points, you take a sum column wise, row wise, and you try to add up at the this thing. So these are actually called in our course. These are actually defined as marginal probabilities, that and this, and these four are defined as joint probabilities. So that is from the name itself you can know, right? So with that, I will wind up today's session. Okay, that's all. Thank you.